Nintendo in 2023 has been a roller coaster to say the least. We've pretty much been told that there wasn't going to be anything big except for Tears of the Kingdom, and that pretty much wasn't the case in my opinion. So, as the time of this video being posted is Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone. I won't be doing a, news cluster for this month. I thought for this month I'd do all of the year plus December and look back on what a crazy year it's been. So without further ado, let's go right into the video. To kick off the year, on January 20th, Nintendo publishes a new installment in a series that Nintendo fans just absolutely love to hate on. I'm personally a huge Fire Emblem fan, and I played the vast majority of the games that did release in the West, so I kind of loved this game. A lot of people didn't think it was as good as Three Houses, and I think they're right. I personally think this is even better than Three Houses. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to pretend that this game had the best story or that the characters had incredibly deep and rich lore associated to them. But I did find that the characters in this game were a lot better in terms of personality. They were a lot more memorable because, I don't know, they're quirky as hell. But also, I feel like the gameplay was just tenfold better than Three Houses. But if there's one thing I know we can agree on is that this game looks a lot better, because Three Houses looks like a PS2 game. I personally didn't play the DLC, but it's probably something I'll be looking into in 2024. Moving on, we had a little bit more news to talk about in February. To kick off the month, on February 8th, we had a Nintendo Direct, and this one was actually pretty good. Obviously, I won't go over everything, but the Direct started off with Pikmin 4, then we had Bayonetta Origins, Octopath Traveler 2, Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp finally got a release date. I personally enjoyed that news because I've been waiting a very long time for this game because of course real world events kind of postponed the launch of this game. And then we got an update for Kirby Return to Dreamland HD where they were adding a Magolor epilogue, kind of in the same way, I compare it to Mario 3D World with Bowser's Fury, kind of the same situation there where it's the brand new content added on. They also had a shadow drop for the Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced NSO services, and they didn't even just shadow drop that, they also shadow dropped Metroid Prime Remaster, which was really out of left field, and there was rumor that this might have been coming, but nobody would have imagined that they were just going to shadow drop it. And then finally we got a trailer for Tears of the Kingdom. This direct was packed. Moving on to our final February news, on February 27th there was a Pokemon Presents, and there wasn't really that much that stuck out to me. I remember they talked about Pokemon Sleep, which has been MIA for a while, so yeah, I guess that was neat. But altogether, there was not really much here for me to get excited about, and with that, now we move on to March. On March 17th, we had the release of Bayonetta Origins Cereza and the Lost Demon. Now, this game is basically a spin-off of Bayonetta 3, where there's sections where you play as young Cereza, and in this game you basically have the origins story of Bayonetta, which was kind of neat. Moving on to March 27th, I'm not sure if this is big news, but I feel like it's a big milestone at least for the Pokemon series because Ash's final episode was aired in Japan. It's one of those things where I don't watch this series personally, but I remember growing up watching it and him always being there. However, the biggest news from March is on March 27th when the Nintendo eShop for the 3DS and Wii U officially shuts down. Obviously, it's always bound to happen, but it's like people said, they all wished it just would have stayed up at least a little bit longer. And even if it would have stayed a bit longer, everybody would have asked for a bit longer as well. But still, I must agree, they kind of did cut off the legs quite soon. With the Wii U, it's unsurprising that happened, but still. So now, if you want games for either of these consoles, your only bet is either retro game stores or eBay, which typically means really high prices. Now with March out of the way, let's move on to the next fiscal year. Starting April off very strong, on April 5th, the Super Mario Bros. Movie premiered in the United States, and within 1 week it grossed $1.36 billion, not million, billion dollars, and it became the highest grossing film based on the video game ever after just a week. And I really think it surprised no one that the movie was going to have like such a wide appeal because, man, who doesn't know Mario? Then on April 19th, we had an Indie World Showcase, and April 21st, we had Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp finally release. I have waited so long for this game, so long to the point that once it got released, I didn't buy it because all my hype was just gone. Now I understand why they delayed the game, but boy oh man, I think it kinda killed it, unfortunately. In May, there was only one game to be released by Nintendo, and it was the one that counted the most. After multiple long years of waiting, Tears of the Kingdom finally releases. I personally adored this game to death. However, it did get a few mixed reviews just because some people found it to be a bit too similar to Breath of the Wild, but I think it just builds upon Breath of the Wild, like it intended. So I was more than happy with this game. Did the game live up to your hype? Let me know in the comments. In typical June fashion, we did get a direct, but only in the second half of the month. The first half was pretty, dull. But starting with the direct on June 21st, we had the announcement of the Pokemon DLC for Scarlet and Violet. We had Mario Kart DLC, and we had Detective Pikachu, to which, yikes. I understand that the jump to 3D for Pokemon has been really, rough, to say the least, but by God, this game is ugly. After that, we had a pretty big announcement. We were told that Super Mario RPG was getting a remake, and then we saw that the Peach game gets a name, so now we know that it is Princess Peach Showtime. Then, for some reason, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is no longer Dark Moon, it's just Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, so that's what it was, and that's what a lot of people did kind of call it, but still, it's kind of weird that they changed the name, but whatever. Then, another shadow drop happened, just like last Direct, except this one was for Pikmin 1+2. After that, they did some more announcements for Pikmin 4. Then we got an announcement for WarioWare Move It, and then the big game of this Direct was hands down Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This game was absolutely just what the franchise needed. The quote-unquote new series of the Super Mario Bros. Games were good for a while. It was really fun on DS. We kind of started to feel like, hey, yeah, we pretty much did what we could. But New Super Mario Bros. 2 and Wii U, those are just soulless, to say the least. This game is just so expressive, the way that every character has different expressions for different movements, even the enemies have expression, I love this game. However, there was one more game that they didn't show off during the Direct. So this game was actually announced a little bit before the Direct. This was announced on June 1st on Twitter, with a June 30th release date. Now, this game has been rumored for a while, and it had been rumored that it was so bad that it was going to tarnish Nintendo's reputation. Now, I think the new price point they went for this, so this game was not a full price game, but I'm talking about everybody want to Switch. I think one of the main takeaways from this game is that Nintendo really doesn't like to listen to people. So one of the biggest complaints about 1-2-Switch, the original one that came out with the Switch, was that the games just weren't fun for very long. It was cute, it was novel for the first few times, but after you played it once, you don't really have a reason to come back to this game again and play time and time again. The games just aren't fun. And this game is kind of just exactly that again. The only thing that's kind of saving it is the $30 price point is a lot more palatable than a full $60. In July, we didn't get a lot of announcements, but we did get a few releases, starting with the 5th wave of the Booster Pass on July 12th, and finally, a whole 10 years later, we received a new entry in the Pikmin series on July 21st.
This game is just loads of fun. Even though I didn't quite beat it yet, my goal is to finish it before the end of the year. But I think it really pushes the series in a way that makes it more appealing to a broader audience. And it clearly shows in the sales data as well. This is by far the best-selling Pikmin game. And hopefully that means that we don't have to wait another 10 years to see Pikmin 5. Moving on, now we're in the month of August. And on August 8th, we got a Pokemon Presents. And honestly, there wasn't that much to be remembered here. I mean, they kind of went over the second part of the DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but other than that, there wasn't that many interesting things here. Coming back to Mario, although the game looked fantastic, there was something off that people had noticed. People had noticed that Mario's voice might have changed, but nobody was really sure. But it turns out the fans were right and there was something up, and Charles Martinet has officially stepped down from the role of Mario, stepping into a new role of Mario Ambassador. With a Mario Bros. Wonder Focus Direct coming up, most likely Nintendo didn't want to make a huge deal out of this swap during that Direct and really focus on the game. So the new voice of Mario now is this gentleman right here, Kevin Afghani. Now, some people don't necessarily think he lives up 100% to Charles Martinet, which is fair. He's been there for a long time and people are very attached to him, but personally, I think he's doing great so far. And actually, I think that Kevin Afghani's voice for Wario is actually better than Charles Martinet, but that's my personal opinion. To me, he looks like a perfectly nice guy. He seems pretty young, so who knows, he might be able to put in as many years as Charles Martinet. And to close up the month of August, as I mentioned, there was a Super Mario Bros. Wonder Direct on August 31st. Creeping up to the end of the year, now we're in September. On September 14th, we got a new Nintendo Direct, and there was one particular announcement that caught my interest. But starting off, we had a Splatoon 3 DLC drop, so basically it was for Side Order, the new, DLC. Then we got a remake of a Game Boy Advance game, so we're getting a remake of Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Then we got a new trailer for Super Mario RPG, followed by another trailer for Princess Peach Showtime, and then we got another glance, unfortunately, of Detective Pikachu. Man, this game just looks so freaking bad. After that, we got another trailer for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, and then after that, we had two big announcements, in my opinion, big at least. Out of the blue, we got a brand new 99 style game, and of all games, it was an F-Zero game. Now, I've been wanting a new F-Zero game for so freaking long, and I feel like this actually gives hope that, you know, maybe eventually we do get an actual full mainline game F-Zero game. Obviously, I think the time has passed that if we were going to be getting one for the Switch, you know, it would have happened by now, so clearly we're not getting one. But hopefully on the next system, who knows, we might even see one. From what I've seen, I think it's still really, you know, pretty popular considering it's just a free download. And I think it's because it's a free download that it made it even more exciting. Because that way, a lot of people got to try it out, so it kind of probably did inflate numbers, but still, I was very happy with the game. The next bigger announcement I thought was important was for the Nintendo Museum. Nintendo is trying to branch out and not just be a gaming company, but an all-around entertainment company. So I personally think it's really cool when they decide to take direct time to talk about these other projects they have going. For instance, when they announced the Universal Studios collaboration, or the Mario movie, or the Nintendo Museum like this time. Personally, I just think it adds more variety to the Direct, so that's always welcome. After that, we got an announcement for a brand new WarioWare game called WarioWare Move It, which is basically a successor to Smooth Moves on the Wii. We then received the final DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so finally we get to say rest in peace Mario Kart 8. And to close off the show, we got an announcement for a game that, even though it was rumored that it was in development, nobody could see this coming, nobody thought it would actually happen, but we finally are getting a remake of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. I actually never played a Paper Mario game before, but I'm very intrigued by this one specifically. Everybody says it's the best one, so I can't wait to actually have a copy. Now in the month of October, we saw two game releases and one big announcement from Nintendo. The game that was released was Detective Pikachu Returns, and for the announcement, Nintendo came out to say that Kevin Afghani was going to be the new official voice actor for Mario. I won't go over it too much again because, I already talked about them. And the final game released this month was Super Mario Bros. Wonder, a game that if you have not tried yet, please do yourself a favor and try it out. With that being said, that brings us all the way down to November now. A few things actually happened this month. First of all, we had WarioWare Move It that came out on November 3rd. Then on November 9th, we got the final wave of the Mario Kart 8 Booster Pass. Then a little later, on November 14th, we had a Indie World Showcase, to which, there's typically not that many things to get that excited about in these, but I still enjoy watching them. Then at the end of the exact same week, on November 17th, we have finally received a long-awaited remake, Super Mario RPG. I had personally never played the game before because it came out a long time before my time, so I'm actually quite enjoying going through it now. I'm not quite done yet, but wow, this year has had so many great games to get to, it's been hard to keep up. We now approach our current month of December. On December 1st, there was a concept image that got revealed about a Mario Tennis character that got scrapped, being Wa Peach. So it's one of those things where I feel like the fandom has always kind of just assumed that there was a Wa Peach somewhere out there, mostly headcanons and poorly drawn concepts that people made. But still, it's kind of neat to see it. I personally don't like it, but hey, it doesn't exist, so I don't have to like it anyways. Then we got two back-to-back announcements for Japan specifically. First off, in Universal Japan, they will be adding a Donkey Kong Country section to the Super Nintendo World in the spring of 2024. That is mega cool. I haven't been to either the one in Florida or Japan, and I really want to go to, honestly, either. Maybe Japan now because it'd, be bigger and better. But yeah, no. The next day, on December 6th, Nintendo came out and they had to cancel Nintendo Live Tokyo 2024 due to threats against staff. I don't know if there was an official reason posted, but I did hear some things that apparently it was something to do with a Splatoon tournament or something. Honestly, it sounds like the stupidest thing ever. First off, I can't imagine really there's that many reasons out there to start actually threatening people, let alone staff of people that just work there. It's stupid, but whatever. And if you move one more day ahead, we get to December 7th, which was the Game Awards, and Nintendo won 3 awards actually this time. So The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom won Best Action and Adventure Game, Super Mario Bros. Wonder won Best Family Game, and Pikmin 4 won Best Sim and Strategy Game. Next up in December, we had an interview from Aonuma drop, to which a lot of people kind of weren't impressed with some of the answers he gave. First off, he wanted to say that there will be no sequel to Tears of the Kingdom, to which makes sense because it's like he said, at that point they will be making a sequel to a sequel, but also there will be no DLC for the game as well. And for those who are a fan of the old, more linear 3D Zelda games, he also came out and said that you should probably not expect to see another one from him because he thinks it's more people asking to go through a nostalgia trip than anything. And he doesn't quite see the value in going back in time. So needless to say, a few people, and by a few I mean a lot of people, weren't necessarily happy or thrilled to hear those things come from him. And for our last piece of news, do you remember a long time ago, there was a leak about the Smash 4 roster, and it just seemed so far-fetched just seeing Shulk there, nobody really believed it? Well, yesterday, on December 20th, we finally found out who posted that picture online. Turns out it was some Nintendo employee's kid that posted it online. And I just think it's fun to think about how there's one kid out there that can really say, hey, my dad actually works at Nintendo. Although if the Nintendo employee still works there, I doubt they'll ever say anything back to their children again about the upcoming games. If you made it this far into the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, and next week I'll be talking about all my predictions I have for 2024. So until next time, Joyeux Noël, Joyeuses Fêtes, et voilà!